I have to return some videotapes.
Night of the Horrifying.
You're all invited.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Hey! Welcome to Night of the Horror File.
Hello.
That's Brittany, I'm Lee.
Hi.
And we watch scare. Why am I making haunted house noises? Why is that a thing?
Because you're trying to be spooky.
What am I doing? What have I done with my life? I have no discernible talents. So, what do we watch this week?
American Psycho.
American Psycho. Starring Christian Bale. That's right.
Bale.
The Bale. It's starring Batman. No.
No. Not
No.
the same character.
Yeah, we watched American Psycho, directed by Mary Harron. And, God, I love this movie.
Me too.
I didn't discover this movie until, like, way after it came out. Like,
Me either.
it came out in, like, 2000.
Yep.
And I discovered it around 2005, like when that first Batman movie came out, that Batman Begins movie.
Really? I didn't discover until 2008? 2009?
Really? So you discovered way after, too?
Yeah.
So, yep. This is another one Brittany has seen. So we're going against the grain on our show.
So
here.
that's 2 out
It's
of
2 in a row.
60 million.
Yeah. So we're lucking out with the ones I've chosen.
Yes.
Anyway, you ready to dive in?
Yes.
All right, cool. So take us there.
Imagine just a white screen and blood droplets.
Oh, yeah.
The blood droplets turn into blood pouring, but it's not really blood. It's ketchup on some meat, and they're like chopping up the meat.
It's a fine dining experience is what we're watching.
Yes.
It's the weird... They do this on cooking shows a lot. It's the weird thing where they take the sauce or the compote or whatever fancy word they use for it. They take the sauce and like drizzle it on the white plate to make a decoration that some fat ass like me is just going to smear up when he's eating his steak. It's the most useless thing ever in those cooking shows.
You have to have a pretty plate.
It's presentation.
Exactly.
The size of a tangerine. Anyway.
So it takes you into a fine dining restaurant where people are eating.
As you do.
Right. And it's clearly 80s.
Oh, yeah. I would say this movie, it doesn't necessarily say so, but I would say with the, like, you see bits and pieces of TV and you hear people talking and stuff like that. And just piecing that together, I would say this takes place around 1987.
I was thinking about the same thing. Yeah. So there's just a bunch of business guys sitting around a table.
Yeah, they're your classic late 80s yuppies.
They're talking about their accounts at work.
Do you know that's what yuppie stands for? Young Urban Professionals?
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's funny. But yeah, they're just sitting around talking about accounts at work, and
They work in mergers and accusations?
no,
Acquisitions? Is that a word?
I can't remember
Acquisitions?
now. You got me confused.
Musicians?
Mergers and acquisitions.
That's a word. All right, cool.
Anyway,
Moving on.
they work for Wall Street.
Yeah.
They don't tell you that until later on.
Well, it's pretty vague about that. I mean, you don't
Yeah.
even actually see Patrick Bateman, our hero. You don't see him actually do any work. So it's definitely brushed aside. But anyway, they're yuppies. They're rich.
Yes, the bill comes.
White dudes.
The bill comes after their dinner. Only $570.
I was talking to you about that, and I was like, I think the biggest bill I've ever had was maybe $100 at dinner.
Yeah.
And I don't go out to dinner very often. I mean, unless you kind of McDonald's or something.
I definitely would not be paying $570. You better be shitting gold for me or something.
Oh, I know. And this opening, we kind of get a little back and forth with Bateman and his pals there. And, oh man, you're hit automatically with Christian Bale's amazing performance in this movie. He is a goddamn chameleon, man. Like, everything he's ever been in, he's completely different each time. I would put him on acting par with Gary Oldman.
Yes.
Just in that he's never the same person, even though he is the same person. You know what I mean? It's a good actor. So, you know that opening scene with the blood on the plate? Kind of reminds me of Dexter.
Yes.
Do you feel like Dexter ripped this off a little bit?
Probably.
Only without the yuppie part?
Yeah.
Dexter wasn't a yuppie. No. That show ended horribly. Anyway, we could do a whole podcast of what I hate about Dexter, but moving on.
Then they go to a nightclub, as any 80s yuppie would do.
Oh, yeah. You got to hit the nightclubs.
And it's very 80s.
Oh, yeah. They're even playing Joy Division, which is one of my favorite fucking 80s songs.
Oh, the music in this movie.
Oh, I know.
I love it.
In fact, the music in this movie is like the single biggest expense they had.
Oh,
was
I bet.
Buying all the licenses to the music.
Oh, yeah.
Huey Lewis, like, when he figured out what the movie was about, he refused to have his music on the soundtrack, like the soundtrack they sold. But yeah, it's super 80s, and I love when he walks up to the bar.
Yes.
He tries to pay with drink tickets, which was kind of popular, but it faded out there at the end of the 80s.
Yeah.
And he tries to pay with his drink tickets, and she's like, "This is no good here. This is a cash bar. That'll be like $25." And I'm like, did he just order one drink?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh my God, $25 for one drink?
Mm-hmm.
Holy shit. But I love that. What's he say here to her?
He says, "You're a bitch and I want to play with your blood."
Oh yeah, God. I love his little asides he does.
Oh, yeah. Because she obviously didn't hear him.
Right. My theory is I don't think he's actually saying that out loud. I think that's kind of in his head.
I think so, too.
Yeah, it's just artistic.
Right.
This movie's kind of shot kind of like an old style movie. Like you could put this movie in black and white and it would look really good.
Oh, especially his apartment.
Because it is shot classically. Like, it's pretty fucking awesome. Anyway, I'm sorry.
So then it cuts to him. Oh, you see his apartment.
Right.
It's all black and white, mostly white.
Yeah, it's really clean.
Very
Very clean.
And he starts talking about how he has a balanced diet. He has a rigorous exercise routine. He puts an ice pack on his face. And
if
he can
eyes
do...
are too puffy, I put on a face mask.
Yes. And then he's like, then I do my crunches. I'm up to 1,000. I'm like, who has time to do 1,000 crunches?
God, not I. And it shows.
Oh, shows him exercising.
Oh, yeah. You get to see a lot of Patrick Bateman's package in this movie. So
Christian Bale.
Christian Bale.
He's exercising in his whitey tighties.
Yes.
I wouldn't have it any other way.
Well, except without the whitey tighties. I mean, come on.
Yeah, but you got to leave something to the imagination.
That's true. Could you imagine someone exercising naked? The amount of butthole you would see?
I was about to say, I don't want to see his butthole that much.
Oh, yeah, you have a good point. Anyway, this opening scene where he's narrating and stuff, I don't know. I just like his narrations and stuff like that. It really sets him up and explains what he's thinking inside, which is nice. Because I think without the little bit of narration here and there, we'd be kind of lost.
Yes. He's talking about then he showers after he works out. He uses
He's going through his whole, like...
cleaning routine
for
his face.
He's going through his whole morning routine and how... It's just basically explaining how vain he is. I mean, in the end.
I use a deep pore conditioner and gel cleanser and a face scrub and blah, 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 blah,
and
blah.
Then I apply a face mask. That face mask thing, I actually used that in high school because I was vain as shit.
Oh my gosh.
I had 2 types of hair straighteners.
Oh.
I wore guy liner. Yeah.
See,
It's
we
that
wouldn't have dated.
guy. And then it was like 2 years later, though, I hit hippie stage and stopped doing anything. It was pretty cool. Anyway, so we get hit with his opening scene, and I love the ending of it where he says how you could shake his hand and feel the flesh and stuff, and you could think your lives are comparable, but in the end, he's simply not there. And I love that. It just
Yeah.
kind of explains how empty he is.
Yeah, he says, I have an idea of Patrick Bateman, but there's no real me.
Right.
He's just a show.
Oh, yeah.
So it hits us with classic 80s music, Walking on Sunshine.
Yeah, I love the inappropriate pop music in this movie. There's so
Yes.
much of it because Christian Bale's character, Patrick Bateman, is fucking obsessed with mediocre
Oh, yeah.
pop music.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know why it's so... That's good. I don't... This whole movie is like a serial killer to a T. Like, if you watch a lot of true crime and stuff like that, he has every little tick of that. He's just obsessed with weird shit.
Yeah.
And, like, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. But he's using his Walkman. I was so excited.
Walkman!
I had a Walkman.
I did too. I think they stopped selling Walkmans in, like, 2003?
I have no idea.
Although, I saw a Walkman at Target the other day. I think they're coming back for some reason. I don't know why.
What's the point? I don't know.
None of that is at all convenient.
Right.
We have MP3s now.
But you probably had a lot different music on your Walkman than what I had.
Well, I couldn't afford a lot, so I had to record off the radio. I made
Oh,
mixtapes.
I did that
constantly.
with my MP3 player later on.
Oh,
Because
no,
I
see.
was only 6 when I had a Walkman.
Oh, cool.
I was listening to Britney Spears.
I forget I'm older than you.
Yeah.
I
I was
was-
listening to Britney Spears and NSYNC and Backstreet Boys.
Oh, wow. I got a lot of hand-me-downs from my dad, so I actually did have the Robert Palmer cassette he's listening to later. It's a great cassette.
Yeah.
It's a great album.
That's funny. Anyway, so he's walking up to work. He goes into his office. And that's where we meet Jean, his secretary.
Chloe Savini. She's plain hot, if you get what I mean.
Yeah.
I think you do.
Yeah.
She's like, she's always been super attractive to me, even though most people would say she's ugly.
She wasn't bad.
No, she's a great actress too. She picks roles like this. Like, she's not in everything, and when she could be, and I like that because when you do see her, it's nice.
Mm-hmm. She was fine. But she's giving him his messages, saying he's got reservations here and here with this person. We see that a lot in this movie. Is
yeah.
a lot of restaurant reservations.
Well, because they're making a statement about like the yuppie culture and stuff like that, and the vanity of the time, like 1987. That's why this movie works so good, and I'll get into that later on. Is the time period?
Yes.
It needs this time period to work, and I feel like there's talk about a remake, and I just don't think it could work because they want to bring it into modern times.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see how
It's
that
not
would
gonna
work
work.
and be entertaining because
No.
even Bret Easton Ellis, who wrote the book, says it's hard to make the book work as a movie.
Yeah, because there's a lot of things that we see in this movie that... No, sorry. There's a lot of things in the book that are not in the movie
Yeah.
because it's hard to portray those things.
Well, right, because a lot of it's internal and stuff like that. A lot of it's just allegories for rage, and it's a very complex book. I've never read it, but I've read excerpts, and I can tell.
Yeah.
But so we meet his secretary, Jean, and she's kind of timid.
Yeah.
She's not,
But not scared.
and she's not dumb. The majority of the
Right.
women in this movie are kind of dumb.
All of them except for Jean.
Yeah, they are. Oh shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're right. They're all like dumb. But not to not to be mean about it, but you know what I mean.
So he tells Jean as she's walking out to not wear that outfit again. She's wearing like a pantsuit.
Yeah.
And he says to wear a dress or skirt.
And heels.
He's like, I like heels.
Yeah, she's like, what? She's like, I thought this looked good. He's like, oh, come on. You're prettier than that. It's like, oh, goddamn.
Then he turns on Jeopardy.
Yeah. Out of nowhere, just
Yep.
watching Jeopardy.
It was pretty cool.
We never see him do any work. Like,
None at
absolutely
all.
none.
None at all. So it gets to him and this is where you meet his fiance?
Yes. Evelyn.
Yes. He's listening to a Walkman again.
I'm trying to listen to the new Robert Palmer.
Simply Irresistible is
Oh,
the
yeah.
song that's playing.
That's the cassette I had.
Oh my gosh. And Evelyn is Reese Witherspoon.
Yep. There's a lot of big actors and actresses in this movie.
And she's babbling on about a wedding. And she's like, we should do it. He's like, do what? She's like, get married or have a wedding.
Yeah, and he's through this whole movie, you can tell Bateman has like absolutely no feelings towards anyone. He's
Right.
like dead.
And he says it a couple of times.
Yeah, and so like during this scene, she's talking about them getting married because they're already engaged, obviously, because that's his fiance, and he could give a shit. It's just he wants to listen to his music, and he says something about
She asks him why they couldn't get married or whatever.
right.
And he's like, I can't take off work.
Yeah,
She's like, your dad owns the company. And they go back and forth just a little bit. And then he's like, I want to fit in. Because that's kind of the theme in this movie is.
yeah. It's all about him building his mask, like to fit in with everybody else. He's trying to hide who he really is.
Right. So they go to a fancy restaurant and meet up with Evelyn's cousin. And she is a goth.
Yeah, this is at Espace or
Oh,
Espace?
yeah.
Or something.
A spot. I don't remember what it said. But and they're there with Evelyn's cousin, Evelyn's cousin's boyfriend. They're both goth. And then work people.
Yeah, they're there with Bryce, one of his friends, and Lewis,
And Tim.
and Tim, and Courtney,
Courtney.
who
Yeah.
is Lewis's fiance, I assume.
Yeah.
And
And-
did you catch the menu at this restaurant?
No.
It's like punched into metal.
Oh, I
It's
didn't
the
know.
weirdest thing. All the menus in this movie are fucking off the wall. Like, there's this one, and then there's one coming up later that's really fucking odd.
But he's saying that he's pretty sure that Tim and Evelyn are having an affair.
Right.
And he's like, but I'm having an affair with Courtney.
Who's engaged
Engaged
to Lewis.
Yeah, engaged to Lewis.
Yeah. So it's like, it's weird because this whole movie to me is being told through his point of view. He's our narrator. He's taking on us on this little journey. And you can just tell his indifference. Like, it's just so deep and like malleable. It's like he doesn't even give a shit that they're cheating because he's doing this. So he just sees it as whatever.
Right,
Like, it does not faze him.
right. And he's talking about how Courtney's always on drugs.
Right.
And he doesn't care. He's just fucking her. He doesn't care.
Yeah, he really does not, because like there's several times in this movie this poor woman is trying to talk to him and ask for help, basically, and he's just like ignoring her because I mean he's a sociopath and he's got
Right.
deep-seated issues.
Yes. They start talking about like political problems and he goes on and on about
Yeah, he goes on this rant about like saving the world and stuff like that, but you can tell it's like so rehearsed and well put together that it's just basically him hiding himself some more.
Yeah.
Like it's just his front he puts on.
He's trying to show that he cares about something, even though he really doesn't care.
Even though he could give a shit less. But the way he puts his whole like rant together is so safe.
Yeah,
Like,
because he talks
it's not
about,
too out of his character,
right,
but it's also caring. So he's
Right.
also charming.
Right.
And it's just insane.
yeah, he's talking about world hunger, equal rights, women's rights, and stuff. And then it quickly cuts to him walking to an ATM.
Right.
A woman walks near him, and he stops what he's doing and like follows her.
Yeah. Walks with her and stuff, and it's really creepy.
Yeah, they get to the end of the sidewalk where they have to cross the street.
Right. He's still walking with her. And this is one of a few scenes where it doesn't right out say he murdered someone.
Right.
It's just one of those kind of, it hints at it.
Right. It was very creepy because he looks at her and said hi.
Oh, yeah.
And
Because
she just was like,
it's not a mystery that he murdered this woman, because our next scene takes us right to the laundromat
right.
where he's arguing with the owner about his fucking stained ass bed sheets.
He's like, I just want the stain out.
And it's like obviously big ass blood stains. And here's another one of those asides I talked about earlier where it's in his head.
Mm-hmm.
But because he's our narrator, so we're seeing it through his point of view. So it just like cuts to where what does he say?
Shut your fucking.
Yeah, fucking?
Shut your fucking mouth. I will kill you.
Yeah.
The lady doesn't speak English.
Right. She's just yelling at him in
Korean.
Korean, I think. Yeah. And it's funny. But yeah, he does another one of his asides, which is fucking insane.
And randomly, some girl comes in that he knows. And he's like, I'm just trying to get them to wash my sheet or whatever.
Yeah.
And she's like, what is that?
What is that? Because it's like big ass blood stains. And he's like, it's cranberry juice. Cranapple, actually.
Yeah, cranapple. And he's like, please take care of this for me. I have to go.
But that's why he's fucking amazing, because he doesn't really skip a beat when he does that. Like I did, but he doesn't. Like he's so smooth, he can come up with something on the fly.
Yes.
And that's what makes him fucking dangerous. Like his brain is just out there, combined with his fucking ego and stuff. Man, I really do wish, even though it would have been fucked up, I really do wish they would have went into the killings more.
Yes.
But I get why they didn't, because like in the book, the killings are pretty fucking brutal.
Right.
And they're all directed towards women. So that would be a movie that would not get released, because there's in the book, he's cutting people's stuff off, and it's pretty brutal.
Yeah.
But
so then it cuts to him at home. Oh my gosh, this is my favorite. And he's on the phone with Courtney.
and this is the part where he's just got fucking porn playing in the background like it's nothing.
He's just watching porn.
And that's another one of the things he has, like his little, it was just another one of his little things where it's like porn is just a normal thing for him because he's so highly sexualized.
Yes. Very highly sexualized. He's like, cause she's like falling asleep or whatever on the phone. And he's like, have you been taking lithium?
Yeah.
I guess that was a big thing back then. And I guess Lewis is out of town. And he was like, Lewis is out of town. Why haven't you called me?
Yeah, it's subtle, but he's very controlling.
Yes.
Which is another sign of kind of a sociopath and narcissist. But he's super controlling, even though it's subtle.
So he's like, how about we go to dinner? Where do you want to go? And she's like, I want to go to Dorsia.
Which, is this the first mention of Dorsia?
Yes.
Because by the end of this movie, I really want to go to Dorsia.
Right.
But the problem is he keeps calling too late to arrange a table, because I guess this is like one of the most popular restaurants.
One of the most sought out restaurants.
Yeah, so he calls to make reservations. He's like, I know it's late, but can you reserve a table for 2 at 8 tonight? And the dude just starts laughing.
And he just keeps laughing until Patrick hangs up. And that just makes me think that they're like weeks booked out.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's probably one of those just super, like where all the rich famous
Oh,
people
yeah.
go to and stuff. So they're probably just always fucking booked.
Oh, did you notice how often he asked about Donald Trump?
Yes.
He was like, "Is that Donald Trump's car?"
Yeah, he's always, through the entire movie, he's
Mhm.
always worried about being the best
Right.
and the greatest. And you could kind of tell that Trump is somebody he probably looks up to.
Yes.
Because, as
Which
we
is
all
crazy.
know, Trump is a fucking crazy person.
Right.
And he has the same kind of beats as Patrick Bateman does. So that's scary.
Yeah.
Like, they do a good job at kind of portraying the socialites and the, like I said, the young urban professionals and stuff like that. They do a good job at portraying them in this movie because even though Bateman's a fucking serial killer, it's still something some of those dudes possess, because
Right.
they even said like the sociopathic tendencies and stuff like that make a serial killer also make a perfect CEO.
Oh shit.
Yeah, it's a thin line those guys skate.
Oh. Anyway. So now they're in the taxi and Courtney's fucked up.
Yeah,
Can't
she's
stay
on
awake.
drugs.
And in the taxi, she's falling asleep or whatever, and she says, "I want a child."
Yeah.
Which
Like I
is
said,
weird.
it's one of the many times she's just pretty much screaming for help.
Right.
And she just has the bad luck of being with Bateman.
Right. And Lewis.
And Lewis.
Oh, we'll
who's-
find out more about Lewis
Yeah, we
later.
find out Lewis's problem later on.
So they get
but-
to this. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
They get to this restaurant that's not Dorothea.
Yeah, it even says so on the menu. Like, as soon as they sit down, she's like,
Yeah.
"Are we here?" And he's like, "Yeah."
She's like, "Is this Dorothea?" And he's like, "Yeah."
And they sit down, and it's a completely different restaurant because on the
Yes.
menu.
And he-
Barcadia, I think is the name.
Yeah. And he orders her food for her. He's like, "You're going to have blah, 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 and blah, 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 blah." And she's just like, "Thank you, Patrick." And just like sinks down in her
She
chair.
just fucking passes out because she's so loaded.
Oh, in the taxi before that, though, he was like, "Why don't you take something?" I don't remember what it was. "Or have a Diet Coke."
Yeah.
He was like, "Caffeine might do you some good."
He's the problem with this movie. He's such a fucking asshole, and he's so awful. But you can't help but like him.
Right.
It's the whole serial killer motif, man. Because, like, in real life, those guys are charming. And he's kind of the same way. So you're
Yeah.
sitting there watching this movie and you're liking him. You're actually charmed a little bit, even though he's an awful human being.
Right.
But I think what makes him super dangerous is he knows that. He knows what he is. He just doesn't know what he's becoming.
Right. So then it cuts to, I assume, the next day or the next work week or whatever it is. And he's sitting in the boardroom with his co-workers, and Lewis is sitting next to him, and he's like, "Thanks for looking out for Courtney. Wow, Dorothea, how did you get in there?"
Yeah.
He's just kind of like
Yeah, he just brushes off.
brushing them off. And we were talking about this
Just
last
lucky.
night. We were talking about this last night, and you had written something or said something about this scene, and the glasses.
Yeah.
He's got the same glasses as this other guy.
Right. Because in this scene, we're introduced to Paul Allen, who's
Oh,
played by
Paul.
Jared Leto.
Right.
And Paul Allen comes in, and it's one of many scenes where Patrick Bateman gets mistaken for someone else.
Right.
Because he's doing such a good job at fitting in.
That
So,
he just looks like everyone
looks
else.
like everybody. And if you notice throughout the movie, most everybody looks the same. They're
Yes.
all competing to be that
top guy.
that stereotypical top guy.
Yeah.
And so in the end, they're all a fucking cookie cutter version of everybody. And so is he. Only he's done it so much better than everybody else that he blends in and fades away.
Yes. You're talking about like the glasses and stuff in this scene.
Yeah.
I wrote, "He looks hot in glasses."
Oh, yeah. I have he looks hot written a lot in my notes. And I'm supposed to be straight.
Not for Christian Bale.
I mean, if Christian Bale took me out to dinner, I'm going to put out. I'm sorry. It's Christian Bale.
Yeah, me too.
See? All right.
Oh my gosh.
Can't get enough of that Christian Bale. Hey, welcome to the Christian Bale podcast.
Christian Bale all day, every day.
So today on Can't Get Enough of Christian Bale, we're talking about Christian Bale's abs. And go ahead and pull up the pictures.
Oh, yeah. Got him right here.
All right. That's a good one.
Yeah, it is.
That's a good ab.
Yeah.
That's another good ab.
Look at him doing these crunches.
That's another good Christian Bale ab.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to go return some videotapes. Yeah. Can't get enough of that Christian Bale.
But they're talking about Suits and how the guy that he is being mistaken for, him and Paul Allen, that's his name. Mm-hmm. Patrick and Paul wear the same glasses, have almost the same haircut. They wear the same suits,
right?
Stuff like that.
Yeah, and with Paul Allen, who's also played by Jared Leto, who never ages. Have you ever noticed that?
Yeah.
Jared Leto's one of those guys who just doesn't age.
Yeah.
I mean, Christian Bale doesn't age either, but Jared Leto really doesn't age.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just an odd thing.
Yes.
But Paul Allen is like Bateman's like fucking nemesis.
Yes.
Paul Allen is always that one step a fucking head and stuff like that. But yeah, he mistakes him for somebody else, and then he ends up walking off. And this is where we get the iconic fucking business card scene.
Yes. They're all pulling out their silver business card holders.
They're whipping out their cards.
Yeah,
and measuring
he was
it.
like, Patrick was like, mine's bone with Cillian Braille. It's just this plain fucking business card.
It's
with
they
gold
all
writing.
look the fucking same.
Yes.
And then
They're all showing each other, and then he
Yeah.
was like, let's see Paul Allen's card.
they're all like, Paul Allen's card. Paul Allen's card.
Right. And he like whips it out. He's like, whatcha? That's not what
And
happens.
he looks
but...
at this fucking card, and you can tell it's sexy to him. Like he's almost getting off on it, but at the same time, he's fucking enraged.
Oh yeah, he was
He's
pissed.
pissed.
He's sweating and shaking, and ends up dropping the card.
Right.
And Lewis is like, "What's wrong, Patrick?"
You sweating?
Sweating.
And I think this is like this scene right here where he gets mad about the business card. It's one of because I think he's been able to skirt that line to where he's a he's a serial killer at night and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's got his daytime, his mask,
Right.
The thing he hides behind. And I don't think he's interweaved the two until now. And so now the mask is slipping.
Yes.
Like his rage is coming out and
Yeah.
people are starting to notice.
Yeah.
So he has to like correct himself real quick.
And he got so mad that he ended up leaving work. And this takes place around December because they have a Christmas party later on. And so it's getting dark earlier. So I'm assuming he just left work.
Right.
And he's walking down this alley and sees a homeless man.
Who's played by Reggie Cathy.
Okay.
He's an awesome actor. We'll meet him in other movies.
So, Patrick, sorry. He's like, do you want money? Do you want food?
Yeah.
And at first it's almost like he's going to give him money and give him food or an opportunity to make money.
Right.
So he can buy food and stuff.
It's weird because the process he goes through, it's kind of like he builds him up and then he just starts crushing him back down.
Yeah.
Like, talking, you know how fucking loser you are and stuff like
yeah.
that?
He's like, fucking loser. And he's like, why did you lose all your money? Alcohol?
Right.
Insider trading? And then he was like, that's just a joke.
Again, he's fucking terrible, but
Yes.
he's hard
And
not
he
to
was
like.
like, you got to get a goddamn job. You have a negative attitude.
Yeah, it's fucking
And then
crazy.
all of a sudden, the guy's like, "You're a kind man. You're a kind man." In that order. That's what I wrote here.
Oh, yeah, I know. I mean, he's homeless. He's just wanting money. He doesn't give a shit. You could spit on him as long as you're bringing him the money.
That's
he doesn't
true.
care.
Right.
So Bateman ends up. Does he break a bottle? Is that a bottle he breaks? What is?
I have no idea.
It looks like he breaks a bottle and just stabs him with it over and over again.
And then curb stomps the dog.
Yeah, the homeless guy has a dog that's chilling with him, and the dog's barking this whole time. And so Bateman stands up and just starts fucking curb stomping this fucking dog till it stops. It's pretty brutal, man. And again, a testament to Christian Bale's fucking acting. I still like the guy.
Oh, yes.
You're still almost morbidly rooting for him. I don't know how to explain it. It's something you get while you watch this movie. Because
The
he's
only way I
someone
can-
you're supposed to hate. This is someone you're
Right.
supposed to hate.
Right. But I think that we're coming into it and he's losing his shit in his daily life.
Right.
And it's almost like you're rooting for him to fix himself. Like, to not lose his shit during the day.
Yeah, because I get what you're saying. Because you do kind of want him to get caught.
Right.
Because
Get
even
caught
he himself,
or
he
fix
doesn't.
his brain.
Yeah, he doesn't come right out and say it, but later on, you can tell even he himself wants it to end.
Yes.
Because, like I said, he knows what he is, but he doesn't know what he's becoming because he's becoming unhinged.
Oh, yes. Very much so. So now he's in a spa. He's getting a facial. And the woman's like, "You have perfect skin. You have beautiful skin." Something like that.
That's right, bitch. It's Christian Bale.
Right? And he's getting a manicure.
Yeah.
And he's talking, or he's narrating this part. And he says he doesn't have a single emotion except for greed and disgust,
Yeah.
which you see throughout the whole movie.
Right, because it's true. He's disgusted at things. Like,
Right.
things we would find cute or attractive or something, he finds disgusting.
Yes.
And the greed is there the entire time. I mean,
Oh, definitely.
the greed to be better than everybody else and stuff like that.
He's got to have the best apartment, the best hair, the best business card, whatever it is.
Oh, yeah.
And he says in this part, his sanity is about to slip.
Yeah. He knows something bad's happening.
And he's kind of talking like he's not human. Like, almost like he's a robot in a human's body.
Right. I feel like he views himself from the outside looking in.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
he's kind of along for this ride too, like we are.
Yeah, because he doesn't know where he's going to be one place to the next.
And we talked about this, but I feel like I said, we're seeing this through his eyes. He's telling us this story, even though he's not narrating the entire thing. But I feel like we're in his mind, not the outside world.
Right.
We're inside him, but he's outside, if that makes any damn sense. Am I getting too deep?
I think so.
All right.
So, Christmas party. He's standing around at the Christmas party,
Oh, man.
talking to coworkers or whatever.
He's trying to keep that mask on, but you can tell he doesn't want this. This is disgusting to him.
Right. And then Reese Witherspoon just comes out carrying a fucking pig. She's just holding this pig. I'm like, where the fuck did this
She
pig
comes
come
out
from?
of nowhere with a potbelly pig
And
in a
even-
Christmas outfit.
Right? And even Patrick's like, what is that?
Yeah. This is that disgusted part because it's kind of a cute pig. I mean,
Right.
that pig's cute,
It was.
but like he's just like, ugh.
Why the fuck you got a pig? And he gets mistaken again
Right?
for Marcus Halberstram.
Yeah,
It's something weird like that.
Habastan or something like that. 80s yuppie name insert here.
Right? But yeah, he gets mistaken again.
And this is something I didn't touch on, but like I said, I didn't read the book that this is based on, but I read excerpts and stuff, and apparently like large swaths of dialogue is taken straight from the book. Like, this movie's
really?
pretty faithful, besides the brutal scenes they can't go into and just the weird off-the-wall scenes that would be hard to film. So the dialogue's almost lifted from the book.
So then it cuts to him having dinner with Paul?
Yeah, there's some scene I think we're missing here, because he does meet with Paul, and
but it doesn't elude.
Oh wait, it's at the Christmas party, and Alan runs into him because that's who mistakes him for someone again.
Oh,
and
okay.
Paul Allen invites him out to dinner.
Oh, okay, that's right.
Right.
I
he
was
says,
like, what did I
we
miss
should
here?
go because Bateman's kind of pissed off because he got the account, the big account.
Oh, that's right.
I assume Bateman was supposed to get this account that Paul Allen got to work on, and Bateman's kind of pissed about it, and he wants to talk to him about it. So Paul Allen says, we should meet for dinner. So they make up plans, and they meet at the weirdest Mexican food restaurant ever. Is it a Mexican food restaurant?
I think it was Tex-Mex.
Yeah, it's just so weird.
It's weird because it's not as bougie as the other places.
Right. And you can tell because they're kind of bad-mouthing it the whole time they're there, and they treat the waiter like he's a piece of shit.
Yeah, but I think that Patrick picked that place.
I think so.
Because he is so intimidated by Paul Allen.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just my opinion.
Well, it also seems like there's not a lot of people there.
Right.
And I'm wondering if he picked it for that reason, because we know what happens here in a little while.
So they're having dinner, and they're talking, and Paul Allen's not really paying attention.
Oh, and I'm sorry, but you didn't catch this menu either?
No.
Oh, man, I feel like I'm losing my mind. Yeah, this menu's like made of wood, and it's all giant, and the waiter is holding it. It's like a weird fucking... That's what I mean by... I think parts of this movie are in his mind, because like...
They're all over-exaggerated and stuff.
Yeah, it's like, what, do people have these kind of menus where they're at? It's fucking weird. But anyway, moving on.
So they're kind of chit-chatting, and Paul's not really paying attention.
Yeah, he still keeps mistaking him for someone.
Yes, and he was like, I like to dissect girls. And Paul Allen says, you have a nice tan.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
And you're like, did he really say that, or was that one of his asides?
Right.
But it's still just like...
unnecessary.
Yeah.
In this
it's
moment.
It's so funny.
It is funny. So they go back to Patrick's apartment.
Ooh.
Spooky.
And this is where we get... So, it cuts to Jared Leto, Paul Allen, sitting in a chair, and he's drunk. And, like, fucking... There's, like, newspaper all over the floor, and, like, everything's coated in plastic.
Yes.
And he's like, why are the newspaper all over the floor? And the whole time, Patrick Bateman puts on a fucking Huey Lewis in the News CD.
Yes.
Which is hip to be square, which is, again, just mediocre pop music. I like Huey Lewis in the News, though. I mean, really.
I loved the music in this movie.
Oh, the music's great. It's just that mediocre pop music that's amazing. It's got Genesis. They're the most mediocre group in the world. It's where Phil Collins was spawned from.
Oh, my goodness.
But, so he puts on this fucking Huey Lewis in the News CD, and he's just, like, getting all his shit together. He puts on his raincoat.
A plastic raincoat.
A plastic raincoat. And this big-ass shiny axe, which... I have never been able to find a shiny axe anywhere. Only in the movies. Machetes and axes, they all come black. Have you ever noticed that?
No.
When you go to...
I didn't know that.
I have problems, don't I?
Yeah,
that
I saw an axe the other day when we went to Home Depot.
Oh. That
and
I've
it was
gone
shiny.
axe shopping and I've been disappointed that they're not shiny.
Go
You've
to
seen a
Home
shiny
Depot.
axe?
Yes.
Do they have shiny axes now?
Yes.
Oh.
I've never seen a black axe.
Yeah, down at... Oh, although I've only been axe shopping at Walmart. Is this going to be one of those things they isolate when I do something wrong and they're playing it on the news?
Probably.
Oh, okay. Anyway, so he's the whole time he's doing this and getting ready, he's just talking about Huey Lewis in the News in depth.
Oh, very in depth.
And he's doing this little fucking dance thing he does. I don't know what that is. If you've been alive and been on the internet, you've seen the memes from this movie, and you can look that up. The little shimmy thing he fucking does. It's so fucking funny. And then, so he's sitting there talking about it, and he goes, "Hey, Paul."
Paul turns around. Wham!
Yeah, just
Axe to the head.
brings the fucking axe down on him. And movies don't use this that much anymore, but it's that real bright blood.
Yes.
I love that. I don't know what,
but
it's an aesthetic.
Is it the bright blood, or is it because it's so white in his apartment?
Well, I think it's that too. It's that bright blood on a white.
Which makes this more dramatic.
Right.
Like, if it was our house, it wouldn't be so...
Well, everything in Patrick Bateman's world is so fucking clean.
Yes.
Like, if you ever notice anything dirty, he stays away from it.
Yes.
Anything that he perceives as dirty, which we see that kind of later. But
yes.
But anything he perceives as dirty, he strays away from.
Yes. So, he whacks this guy, like, a bunch of times.
Yeah.
And just hip to be square is just playing.
I know, and he sits down and smokes his fucking cigar.
Yep.
And he's relieved but this is a problem because he's never done this before. He's never killed anybody in his day life.
Right.
He's used to just killing like street workers and homeless people.
Right. And just leaving them there.
Right.
So then he's dragging the body out in this bag.
In a designer fucking bag. I didn't catch the name, but it had it looked designer, which is just silly.
And nobody questions him at all.
Right. And I think a lot of people have a problem with this movie because they say it's all in his mind. I think little bits and pieces are, but not the entire thing.
Right.
So I think this is just part of the whole rich socialites that nobody wants to know something bad is happening.
Right. So he's just dragging this body through the lobby of his apartment building.
Right.
And he puts it in the back of a taxi. And he sees Lewis. And Lewis is out with some girl, but not Courtney.
Right. And I think it's just everybody's cheating on everybody in this fucking movie.
And Lewis is like, "I like your overnight bag." Patrick's like, "Yeah." Shuts the trunk and gets in the car. And they go to Paul Allen's house. Or Patrick, the taxi
the dead
driver.
guy and
right. They go to Paul Allen's house. And
it's a nice apartment.
it's a nice apartment. He's like, "It's more expensive than mine.
The view is better."
And the view is better. And he's pissed about it.
Even after he's fucking killed Paul Allen, he's still pissed off that he's one-upping.
Right? So he goes in and grabs the suitcase and packs some clothes. Then changes the answering machine.
Right.
And he acts like Paul, and he's like, "I'm going to London for a few days." Paul Allen's girlfriend, fiance, or whatever, he's like, "I'll call you in a couple of days."
Yeah. So he fakes a voice machine.
Right.
Wow.
An answering machine, not a voicemail.
Yeah.
Then we're hit with Lady in Red.
Oh, yeah. He's at the office again the next day. And he's just chilling, listening to Lady in Red. And this is where we're introduced to Willem Dafoe's character, Kimball.
Oh, I didn't know that's who that was.
Willem Dafoe?
Yeah.
Oh, man, how'd you miss it?
Well, no, I've heard that name. I just never have seen his face and name together.
I know you've seen Spider-Man.
Yes.
That's the only thing I'm coming up with that you've seen him in. Maybe the Boondock Saints?
Oh, a long time ago.
The movie everybody was obsessed with in high school?
Yeah, a long time
ago. That movie is not good. Have you watched it, recently?
No.
Boondock Saints. It's not good. We're probably going to lose like 8 listeners, which is our whole listener base.
Everybody's done with us. We're canceled.
Fuck you.
Anyway, so we meet Don Kimball. And he's a detective?
Yeah.
A PI?
He's a detective.
Okay. And he's looking for Paul Allen.
Right. And he's kind of acting a little like he suspects
That Patrick knows something.
Yeah, he suspects he knows something, but it's not really clear whether he's suspicious that Bateman did something here.
Right. And Patrick's like, all I know about him is he's a closet homo that does a lot of coke.
Yeah. He says the yell thing. And almost like the yell thing equals coked out homosexual? Like, what does that mean?
Right. He's like, the yell thing. And even Don's like, what Yale thing?
Oh, yeah. And he's always on cue here, like, because he comes up with shit off the top of his head, like, and he gets Willem Dafoe a club soda with lime.
And he's like, no,
No,
I'm
I don't
fine.
want that. And then when Jean brings it in, he flips shit before she puts it on the desk without a coaster.
He like leaps over
he
the
has a thing about
desk.
coasters too. There's like another time he freaks out about coasters later on.
Yeah.
But he's so quick with his answers and stuff.
Because Don's like, well, he's been missing, and that there was a message on his machine saying that he went to London.
Right.
And Patrick's like, did anybody see him in London? And he was like, well, yeah, actually.
Yeah.
Which was weird. And he says something about, Patrick says something about the earth just opens up and eats people.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
Ugh.
But ultimately, he doesn't know anything. That's what he's saying.
Right.
And so Don's like, well, let's have lunch later on in the week and you can think about stuff.
Right. We'll meet for lunch and reconvene.
Yes. And Patrick was like, yeah, I gotta go. I have a lunch meeting with Cliff Huxtable. Really? That's the
Just
first
like, you gotta
name you
meet with Cosby?
I know.
Like, Patrick Bateman keeps name dropping some terrible motherfuckers.
I know. I was just like, oh my gosh,
God
really?
damn, dude.
So then you hear screaming.
Oh, yeah.
Just out of nowhere screaming. And it pans to him working out and he's watching
The Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Okay.
It's just blaring in the background while he's fucking doing crunches like a madman. It's the scariest motherfucking thing you've ever seen.
Yeah.
And kind of the hottest, because
I mean,
Christian Bale. I mean,
yeah. Christian Bale.
got it.
Anyway,
I'm putting out.
that was all for that scene.
Oh, yeah.
Just the
It's
screaming
just a quick,
and him doing
I
crunches.
I think he uses the exercise and stuff to kind of get aggression out too.
Probably. It's very smart.
Mm-hmm.
So then he takes a limo to pick up a sex worker.
Right.
And he was like, you want to see my apartment? She was like, I don't think I'm allowed to do that.
Yeah.
Because
And then
obviously she's got a pimp.
Yeah. And then he shows her more money. And she's like, but I can make an exception.
Then he says, do you take a credit card? She looks at him like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's so weird. And so she gets in his limo and he immediately starts going through the scenario he wants. He's like, you'll answer to Christy and only Christy.
And I'm Paul Allen.
Yeah, and I'm Paul Allen. And while they're in the limo, he orders up a call girl.
A blonde.
A blonde call
And
girl.
he like emphasizes blonde like 4 times.
Right. Which, bad service on this call girl, this escort firm, because goddamn, I mean, you asked for a blonde. You want a fucking blonde.
Right.
And then I got to get my shiny act. Anyway, it's just a thing. But so it cuts to his apartment and Christy,
The
our,
sex worker.
street
Sex worker.
lady of the evening,
Sex worker.
sex worker, Is
Okay.
that the proper term?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I don't know what's a slur and what's not anymore. I need a list.
Sex worker. That's it.
Oh, okay. Anyway, so
She's
Christy's bathing.
Yes.
She kind of seems like she's having an okay time, even though he's really weird. Because he's like, he's just going on about the wine, like, and stuff
Oh,
like that.
on and on.
On and on about the wine. This
About
is an expensive
how it's
Chardonnay.
expensive. Yeah.
And then he's like, why don't you get on your hands and knees?
No, he tells her to clean her vagina.
Yeah.
So she starts to do it, and he was like, no, on your hands and knees.
Yeah, he
Like,
tells her to clean her vagina, which he says vagina, and I don't know what the deal is, but why does that seem more vulgar than like pussy?
I don't know.
Like, have we been like corrupted by modern day times to
I guess
where
so.
vagina is a dirty word now?
I don't know.
What's that about? Anyway,
So he gets a phone call, and it's the escort. Well,
it's the doorman.
it's a doorman
Yeah.
calling him to let him know that someone's there for him. He's like, send her up.
right.
So he tells Christy, he's like, you can get out and meet us in the living room. You can put on one of the robes. And he was like, but not the chiffon.
Yeah, it's like, whoa.
Okay, calm down. He opens the door for the sex worker, the escort, and he says, I asked for a blonde.
You're not
You're-
quite blonde.
Right? He's like, more like dirty blonde. They could have done better.
What? She's a fucking redhead. Come on.
That's true.
How far away from the blonde spectrum do you have to get? But so, and I believe he calls her Sabrina.
Yes,
Yeah.
Sabrina. And they're all three sitting there in the living room, not really talking. Patrick's like, don't you want to know what I do on Wall Street?
Yeah.
They're like-
is-
No.
he is constantly on cue to just impress.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he cares about. He cares about impressing. His mask. He
Right.
has to show that.
He has to show he's got a lot of money,
Yeah.
a lot of prestige.
Right, because he's an empty person. Like
Right.
has nothing to him.
Right. That's all he has.
Yeah.
And they're like, no.
Yeah,
'Cause
they're
they're both-
literally they're just there to get paid to have sex with you.
Exactly.
And they're both just like And
Oh.
finally Christy is like, It's a nice place you have here, Paul.
Yeah.
How much did it cost?
He
And
was,
he's like, well, Christy, not that that's any of your fucking business.
and then he starts talking about Phil Collins.
Yes. Again with the mediocre pop music, man.
Yes. And he's talking about Phil Collins, and he's walking to the bedroom, and he kind of motions him in there.
Right.
And he tells Sabrina to take off her dress
Right.
and dance. So she's dancing.
And he's setting up a camera.
Yes.
A big ass 1987 video camera.
Right.
Remember kids when no, y'all don't remember what but children back in the day video cameras were giant pieces of equipment that you had to be rich to own.
Yes. And this one was huge. He had like a tripod and everything.
Yeah.
And he tells Christy to take off her robe, or he like kind of takes it off of her or whatever.
Yeah.
And this is really weird. So she's sitting there, she's wearing all white, like a corset thing.
Yeah. I think he dresses her.
Oh, it's not a corset thing
Right.
because it's attached. But anyway, it's a little sexy outfit. And Sabrina's wearing all black.
Right.
And at this point, she's just in her underwear and stockings and high heels. Anyway, Chrissy's
it's-
sitting on the bed.
It's a weird little yin yang thing they got going on
Yeah.
there because again, my view on this whole thing is he sees Christy. I just made air quotes. Nobody can see me making air quotes. What the fuck was that? Christy to him is dirty because she's a streetwalker,
Right,
and the call girl's cleaner.
right.
But he has Christy At this point, he's fucking talking about Phil Collins, setting up the camera, and he's like, bend over so Sabrina could see your asshole. That's just like out of nowhere in the middle of this giant impassioned speech about Phil Collins.
So he goes on like a little bit longer. Then he looks at Sabrina and he says, "Don't just look at it, eat it."
Okay.
And then Susudio starts playing.
I wonder if Phil Collins is like, this little movie used our music, chaps. Let's take a look.
So, I have a question about this part, kind of. So,
Studio.
So they're having this weird threesome thing.
Right.
And at the start of it, he's on his knees, and he's fucking Sabrina. Now, is Sabrina fucking Christy?
No, I think he just likes the way that looks.
Because Christy's in front of Sabrina.
Yeah.
And she's moving back and forth, but unless Sabrina has a strap on, nothing's happening.
I don't think
to her.
nothing's happening. I just think he likes the way that looks because, as you see, as they're fucking and stuff, because this scene goes on to Susudio for like 5 minutes, but he keeps looking in the mirror at himself. He's getting off to himself.
Yes.
Like it's him that he's getting off to. So I don't think it has to do with anything, but I think he just likes the way that looks because obviously he's videotaping it, so he's going to watch it again later.
Right. And throughout this, you never see him have sex with Christy.
Right. And,
only with Sabrina.
And that goes back to my thing where I think he sees her as dirty.
Probably.
Because again, he's straying, he's shying away from the dirty stuff in life. Everything has to be clean for him.
Right. So they're done and they're just laying in the bed or whatever.
Right.
And Patrick gets up and they're like, "So can we go now?" I mean, it's done. So they're like, "Can we go now?" He's like, "We aren't through yet." And he opens this drawer of like tools of some kind.
Oh, yeah. You see, he pulls a hanger and there's like a chisel.
Yeah. Some pliers.
We totally missed the don't touch the watch.
Oh, yeah, because when they're laying in the bed, Christy accidentally puts her hand on his watch.
Yeah.
He's like, "Don't touch the watch."
Which apparently in the book, it's actually don't touch the Rolex. But Rolex didn't want their name used in this movie.
Right.
Like a lot of companies didn't want Patrick Bateman wearing their stuff. Like I think it was Dolce & Gabbana or something. Said he can't wear their stuff when he's killing. Only when he's not doing anything.
Oh.
Like, so they had to just completely get away from most of designer companies.
Right. Well, and I hadn't heard any, not that I know a lot of designers.
Me
not
either.
A bougie chick or anything, but
from Tulsa.
Right.
But yeah, he pulls out these instruments of fucking torture.
But then
and then it cuts.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's paying them and they're exiting. And
quickly.
They're bloody and stuff.
Yeah.
Sabrina especially, she looks like she's been punched in the face.
Oh, I guess I didn't catch that.
Yeah, if you look, there's like blood coming out of her nose and shit, and
shit.
she's cut down the side of her cheek. But he's obviously done some fucked up shit to them.
Right. So then it cuts to, they're sitting around, the guys are just sitting around, where are they? I don't know, a restaurant for drinks or something?
I think it's like a cigar whiskey kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like a whiskey bar, if you've ever been to those kind of things. I've been there. They're too fancy for me. When I come in with a fucking Jaws tank top and some gym shorts and flip-flops.
They would kick you out immediately.
I'll take one of your whiskeys, please.
Oh my God.
How much can $5 get me, barkeep?
$5 can get you kicked the fuck out. That's it.
Nah.
So they're shooting the shit or whatever, and then they're talking about girls with personalities.
Oh God, yeah, because they're like misogynistic as fuck.
Oh yeah, because they said no girls have
They
personalities.
all fucking laugh.
And basically they're only there to satisfy all sexual demands.
Yeah.
And I was like, you motherfuckers.
Which, again, it's perfectly painting a picture of those type of people.
Right.
Because even though this is supposed to take place in 87 and like those guys were rampant back then, there's more, I don't want to say good, but there's more less misogynistic people in power.
Right.
Maybe. I don't even want to say that. Anyway, but it paints a perfect picture of those type of people.
And then there's Patrick Bateman. This is a perfect thing because he quotes Ed Gein.
Yeah.
One of the most notorious serial killers.
Right. But my problem with this is the quote he uses is not Ed Gein.
It's not.
No, it's Edmund Kemper.
Oh, shit.
Ed Kemper. But he does the quote where he says, because he misquotes Gein, but that's okay. I'll let it slide. But the quote he uses is the, when I see a pretty girl walking down the street, part of me wants to ask her out, take her to dinner, maybe show her a nice time. And then there's another part of me that just wants to see what her head looks like on a stick. Because,
yeah.
and that was Ed Kemper, not Ed Gein. Because Kemper was the one that fucked the severed heads. So.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense. Yeah, I was a little confused by that too, because I was like, pretty sure that Ed Gein didn't have anybody's head on a stick.
And Ed Gein was kind of a simple man.
Right.
He was a simple fella.
So he says this, and nobody really laughs or anything. They're just like, okay.
Jesus.
Patrick,
Yeah.
whatever. And,
Well, because this is like one of the first times he says something like that, and I think it's officially out loud. It's not an aside.
right.
So it's like the veneer is starting to wear off of his mask here, and he's starting to slip.
Right. But nobody questions him on it, so it's not a big deal.
Right.
They're just like, okay, whatever. So then Lewis comes up, and he has a new card.
Oh. And it's fucking beautiful. And
Patrick's
it enrages
pissed.
Patrick. And I think at this moment he sees Lewis as his competition now. Lewis is the new Paul Allen.
And he thinks that Lewis is an idiot to begin with.
Right.
So he's like, oh, hell no, I can't
this
have
fucking
this.
low motherfucker can't be better than me.
Right. And I guess Lewis had showed his card and then ran off to the bathroom. So Patrick follows him to the bathroom. And Lewis is using the urinal. And Patrick goes up to choke him to kill him because he is pissed.
Yeah.
And Lewis...
He goes to choke him. And Lewis turns around and like kisses Patrick's wrist. And it's like, why here? It's like, I've been staring at you and I've noticed you noticing me and your hot body, which Lewis isn't wrong.
right.
But Patrick's like, whoa.
Whoa.
I was trying to murder you. I wasn't wanting a
He
relationship.
doesn't say that. He just
No.
kind of walks off and Lewis is like, where are you going? And what does he say?
Oh.
Because you can say it better than I can.
He's like, I have to return some videotapes. It's like,
He just walks off. And so he walks through and Lewis kind of calls for him from across the way. And he turns around and he's like, call me. So Lewis is in love with Patrick.
Lewis is into the yell thing.
Okay. So Patrick's walking into work and sees the detective talking to Jean and asking Jean where Patrick was the night that Paul Allen went missing. They're
Right.
like checking his date book and stuff.
Yeah.
And Patrick's like, oh, hell no. Come in
Yeah.
here with me. And the detective, Don, that's his name, right?
Kimball. I just calling him Kimball.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry. Kimball says, so where were you the night that Paul Allen went missing?
Yeah.
And he says a couple things like he was having dinner with so-and-so.
Right.
And
he just pops out those answers on the fly.
right.
And then he's like, well, when was the last time you saw him or were with him?
But right before that, he says, I may have been having dinner with so-and-so. And then he's like, or I may have been returning some videotapes.
The fucking videotapes, man.
Then he says that, Kimball asks him, when's the last time you saw Powell Allen?
Yeah, when's the last time you were with him? And he's like, oh, we saw a play together. Oh, Africa, Brave Africa. It's a laugh riot. I was like, what the fuck?
That's a laugh riot.
He's the way he delivers his lines in this fucking movie's amazing. Because apparently, okay, I don't know if this is real, but the rumor I heard was Christian Bale based his performance off of two things. One was Kiss of the Vampire, Nicolas Cage's character in Kiss of the Vampire. Because if you watch that movie and this movie, you can kind of see the similarities. But based him off of that, and also off of Tom motherfucking Cruise.
Oh, yeah.
Because Christian Bale said that there was like this friendliness he had with nothing behind the eyes. He was like a empty person.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, so this is fucking Tom Cruise. Because apparently in the novel, Tom Cruise makes an appearance too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's weird.
So, this is the part where they say that they're going to have lunch in a week.
Right.
I lied. I lied before, sorry.
That's okay.
But as Kimball's getting ready to leave, he holds up a Huey Lewis and the News CD.
Yeah. Which, it's one of those vague things that you're like, wait, what? Like, does he know? 'Cause
Right.
even Bateman's like looking at him like,
Oh, fuck. Patrick goes to Courtney's house.
yep.
To have
And they
sex
have
with
some
her.
rough sex.
Hell yeah.
I mean, sometimes you gotta, because
Gotta get
again,
those frustrations out somehow.
Gotta get the rage out
Why don't you do that to me?
every now and then.
Get your rage out on me.
Need the rage?
Yeah.
Oh, we're pausing the podcast. I have to go pleasure my wife.
I mean, all this talk about Christian Bale got me steaming. Anyway,
Do I need to wash that chair after we're done here?
probably. Hold, please. I have to go change my underwear.
Can't get enough of that Christian Bale. Can't get enough of that Christian Bale.
Courtney lights a cigarette, and he was like, I didn't know you smoked.
Yeah. Because he doesn't notice her.
Right.
She's just a thing for him to use, like all the women in this movie.
Right.
And again, this is another part where she's trying to fucking talk to someone because some shit's wrong with her because she's on drugs. She's talking about children. She doesn't want to marry Lewis because Lewis is probably gay. Nothing wrong with that, but back in 87, there probably was when you're up to do socialite. But so she's going through some shit, but he's so fucking psychopathic and sociopathic and all the spectrum that he just doesn't hear it.
No, she's like, can we talk?
And I don't think he ignores it. I just don't think he cares.
Yeah.
He doesn't feel anything. He has no empathy.
Right. Because she's like, can we talk? And he just like doesn't want to talk to her. So he's like, whatever.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a little weird that she was like, if I don't see you before Easter, have a nice one. And I was like, a nice Easter or a nice life? Like, don't ever talk to me again if you're not going to talk to me by Easter.
Maybe a nice life because I think she's feeling suicidal, dude.
I think so too.
I'm just getting the vibes.
Yeah, because I was like...
Because she's, like I said, she's crying out for some fucking help.
Right. So, sorry, they're at the club. And they're waiting in line for the bathroom. And everybody in this club is waiting in the line for the bathroom.
Because that's the bathroom you do your drugs in.
Right. And it's not even like a bathroom. It's just stalls in the middle of this club. Which is really weird. But they go in there to do their coke. And they're talking about it being not very potent.
Right.
more like sweetener is what he
Yeah,
said.
he says it's like a gram of sweetener.
And the guy next to them stands up over the thing and he's like, "Can you keep it down? I'm trying to do drugs over here."
I'm going to tell that to our neighbors. I don't know if anybody can hear this, but this motherfucker has been mowing for this
like an
entire
hour.
fucking time. He takes little breaks, but he has the yard. He has a small yard. All these yards are the same. It's the same size, and he's still mowing it. So I'm going to go outside. And
I swear he
I'm gonna yell at
fucking
him.
cuts his lawn with scissors sometimes.
I think he does. But I'm going to go yell.
Keep it down.
Hey, keep it down. Trying to do some drugs over here.
Anyway. So they're back in like a VIP room or something
Yeah.
at the club with some girls.
Yeah, we'll never see this. We don't have the pull to get into the VIP room. Maybe
No.
the VIP room at the strip club, but you don't want to go back there. There's probably stains. And...
Diseases.
Whoa.
So they're talking about work bullshit, and one of the girls asked Patrick, "What do you do?" And he said, "Murders and executions."
Yeah.
And she was like, "Do you like it?" And he was kind of like, "What?"
What?
And she was like, most of the guys I know that are in mergers and
Accusations.
yeah,
we figured that out earlier.
yes. Don't like it.
And the girl he's talking to, she's a model.
Yes.
Yeah.
And she says, "There's something sweet about you."
She's
Until
goddamn.
until they go to the club, or I mean to the taxi.
Yeah, she goes to the taxi and she's like, "Normally, you probably think I'm dumb.
Right.
Everybody thinks models are dumb." It's like, well, you're going home with this stranger that you just fucking met, so yes, you're very dumb.
Right. Well, then the next day, Patrick's at work and he's playing with a strand of hair, blonde hair.
Blonde hair from the
So
model.
it was safe to assume that he killed that model.
Yeah. Again, it's one of those things where they don't show us the murder, but he just killed somebody. So-
Right. So Gene walks in and he freaks out and like hides the hair, and he's doing a crossword. Not doing work, doing a crossword. And all along this crossword, he's not filling in the right answers. It says
No.
meat and bones, meat and bones.
Yeah,
meat
he's
and
just
bones.
filling in like crazy ass shit.
This is where he asks Gene to dinner.
Right. Which is kind of random.
Yeah.
Like,
very
but
random.
I think in his mind he wants to kill her because again
Right.
he's getting rash in his decisions and stuff
Right.
like that. He's not being as careful as he used to be. So
But this is where I think he starts to like her. Because he's letting her choose where they're going to have dinner.
yeah, it's kind of odd. It's kind of like he wants a break from what's been going on.
Right. He wants to do something normal.
Yeah.
So he's like, "You choose." And she's like, "I don't know if I can choose something like that." And he's like, no, you choose. And she's like, how about Dorothy?
He's like, "Dorsey, it is." He picks up the phone and he's like, "Hi, can I get a reservations for 2 tonight at 9?" And the guy on the phone's like, "We're booked up." He's like, "Oh, really? Tonight? Awesome." The guy's like, I just said we're booked up.
And he hangs up. And Jean is smart.
Yeah,
and she was like,
Jean's-
"You didn't leave a name."
right, because Jean is the only non-dumb
Right.
female in this movie. And she sees through his bullshit. And I think he kind of admires that a little bit. He shows in this next scene, because we'll walk through it, but he shows the closest to real emotion we'll get from Patrick Bateman.
Right. And he tells her to change before they go.
Right.
And she does. And it cuts to them at Patrick's apartment. And for some reason, he offers Jean some sorbet.
Yeah. It's kind of odd.
And he opens the freezer. And what do we see?
A severed motherfucking head looking right at you.
Yeah. It's a little creepy.
And they went old school with this effect because apparently, like, that's literally a hole cut in the bottom of a freezer, and a girl's in there standing up with her head through.
Are you serious?
Yeah, they went super old school with it, but it's effective looking. It's great.
Right. So Jean's just sitting down eating this sorbet.
Right.
And he's asking her all kinds of questions.
Yeah, this is an odd scene because, like I said, I think this is as close as to real emotion we'll get from him, even though it's still shallow and not present.
Mm-hmm.
But he's asking her questions about herself.
Right.
Which is completely different than what we've seen so far. He's been more worried about himself, or he sits there and goes on about music because he wants to kill her.
Mm-hmm.
Because the whole time he's talking to her, he's sizing up knives and looking at what he wants to use.
Right.
And he's indecisive,
He's
which
like,
is
"I don't
another
know."
thing we're not used to seeing. Usually he knows
Right.
what he wants to do.
Exactly.
So it's a little weird because he even opens a pantry and reaches in and pulls out some duct tape and stuff.
But in his talking and asking her questions and stuff, he references Ted Bundy. And
Yeah,
he
he
says-
makes a weird... It's one of his things where he's trying to impress her again.
Right.
And he says something weird about Ted Bundy, and she's kind of like, what? Who?
Yeah, because he was like, Ted Bundy's dog's name was Lassie. And it's like, what does that have to do with
It's
anything?
just something random he pops off with.
Yeah,
Because he's awkward.
very.
This is the first time I think he's awkward around someone. Because I think he kind of admires her.
Right.
Maybe not... I don't want to go as far as to like, because I don't think Bateman's capable of liking anyone. But I think there's something weird about her that puts him off.
Right.
Because it's like almost like he doesn't know what's going on. But like I said, like he reaches in and gets the duct tape and he's like indecisive about that. And she's like, what's that for? And he's like, oh, just duct tape for taping things. He puts it back. And then he finally decides why she's kind of talking on a nail gun.
Oh, but in this time that he's choosing the nail gun, she tries to put the spoon on the table
Oh,
for
yeah.
the sorbet. And he was like, put it in the carton. She was like,
Whoa.
oh, shit. Okay.
Yeah. And so he picks up the nail gun and goes behind her and aims it at her head. But something keeps him from pulling the trigger right away.
Yeah, there's a few seconds pause in there.
Yeah, he hesitates.
Yeah.
Which, again, is weird.
Right.
So he hesitates, and then the answering machine picks up, and it's Evelyn.
Oh, Evelyn. And she was like, she even says something about picking up, did you pick up a girl or something like that?
Yeah, she's just going on. And Jean, I mean, it's no mystery that Bateman has Evelyn.
Right.
And Jean's like, oh, are you still seeing her and stuff like that? So she knows about Evelyn, so it's not like she gets mad that...
Right.
But she says, should I go?
And he was like, yeah, because I don't know if I can control myself.
Yeah, he said, I think I'll hurt you.
Yeah, something
And
bad will happen.
Like I said, there's a bit of emotion.
Right.
Not what we would consider emotion, but for him, it's weird. Because even the look on his face, he's kind of almost disgusted with himself because he can't bring himself to kill her. That's just my reading. I don't
Right.
know if that's right or not.
Right. So then it cuts to him, Patrick, at lunch with the detective.
Ah, yeah, lunch with Kimball. Which Willem Dafoe, man, there's got to be... They got to put Willem Dafoe and Christian Bale in the same movie again because those two acting off each other is fucking brilliant.
But he is one ugly motherfucker.
Willem Dafoe? Oh,
Yes.
yeah. But he's amazing. He's great. He was great as Green Goblin, man.
Oh, yeah.
Spider-Man. And anyway,
So he said, what did you do the day that Paul left? And he's like, going on. And the detective, says,
Kimball.
sorry. Kimball says, I spoke with Marcus Halberstram, and Marcus is the one that is always being mistaken. No, Patrick is always being
It's
mistaken.
a little confusing. It's
for
pretty
Marcus.
much, I just look at it as they're all getting confused
Yes.
with each other. Like they're all mistaking each other for each other. It's because they all fucking look alike. And again, Patrick has the ability where he's blended himself in so well that he's accidentally created an alibi here.
Yeah, because Marcus told him that he was at dinner with everyone except for Paul Allen. And he had said that Patrick was there too. And Patrick's like, oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Right.
So they don't really talk about anything else.
No, Kimball mentions, so you were there, so I'm sure he just ran off to Italy or something like that.
London.
Disappeared for a while. He'll turn up sooner or later.
Right.
And so it's like almost as if, like Patrick has stumbled into an alibi on accident. So, and Kimball kind of still suspects something, maybe.
But he doesn't have any evidence.
No. So obviously he's made an alibi for himself, so he's kind of scot-free of that.
So...
Which again, this goes back to, I'm sorry to cut in,
fine.
but it goes back to the whole, this time period is important for this movie because if it was during modern times, well, we got the internet, we have social networking, and it just wouldn't work out.
Right.
You'd be able to look up and tell the difference between all these people. But in 87, you're relying on word of mouth. I mean, the only cellular phones they had were the giant ones. And
they didn't know they could ping those back then.
no, so you can't track nobody down. You're just going off of word of mouth.
Right.
So it's real easy for Patrick Bateman to blend in and get confused, especially when he's trying to be fit in, because he mentions that a lot in this movie where he just wants to fit in, and he does it.
He does a good job.
Yeah.
So now he goes back to pick up Christy, the sex worker.
Oh yeah.
And she's like, no, I'm not doing this again. And he's like, it's not going to be like last time. And he said, just get in the car. The driver's here. You're safe. She's like, I had to go to the hospital last time.
Yeah. She says that they might have to do some surgery. It's like, God damn, what'd he do to her?
Right. And, but she gets in anyway because he waves some money at her. And when she gets in the car, he writes her a check, I assume for her medical bills. And she takes the check and gets out of the car.
Right.
And she's going to walk off, and he is waving money at her again.
Yeah. The
And-
money's just too damn good.
Right? So she gets back in the car and tries to take the money out of his hand. And he was like, no, half now, half later. And he says that we're going to go to my new apartment.
Right. And meet a friend.
Right.
And so they get to the new apartment, which is Paul Allen's place.
Yeah.
And while they're there, Elizabeth
Is the friend that they
is
meet
the
up
friend,
with.
and she's going on about how Christy looks familiar and stuff like that. And okay, the girl here who plays Elizabeth, Guinevere Turner, is actually the screenwriter.
Oh.
Yeah, she
I didn't
wrote
know
the screenplay, and it's kind of funny for what's about to happen is because she's actually a lesbian.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So I don't want to say it's an inside joke what happens, but it's kind of.
That's funny.
But because he mentions he was like whose drink does he drug? Does he drug both their drinks or just Elizabeth's?
I think just Elizabeth's.
So he drugs her drink and stuff, and he passes out drinks and stuff like that. And he tells them both, what I'd really like to see is you two
To
get it on.
But this is after he tells Elizabeth that this girl is his cousin
Oh yeah,
from France.
it's really weird.
Why would he want to see his cousin from France get it on with his friend?
I don't know.
But she doesn't notice.
No.
She's drunk already and then drunk
Yeah, she's
up.
like, what made you think I'd be into the lesbian thing? That's what I mean. Is that an inside joke? Because this woman's in. But so it cuts to Christy and Elizabeth making out and getting
yeah.
heavy. And again, Patrick is going on about Whitney Houston.
Whitney Houston this time.
And we're not actually hearing Whitney Houston on the radio because apparently Whitney Houston did not want her music in this movie.
I'm not surprised.
I understand.
But he's going on and on about her. And Elizabeth's like, I don't take you for someone that likes Whitney Houston.
Yeah, she's like, you actually own a Whitney Houston album? More than one? That's like,
So he starts to have sex with Elizabeth. And Christy's just kind of laying there watching.
again, he's not fucking
Right.
Christy.
because she's dirty.
Yeah, weird.
Which is why would you pay? Why does she need to be there?
I don't know.
To make himself feel better about himself?
Probably. I think it's a weird serial killer thing where he thinks he's doing something good.
So then Patrick starts to bite Elizabeth?
I'm pretty sure he bites her in the vagina. And then it kind of looks like he's stabbing her with something.
Biting her vagina? He wasn't down there, was he?
Yeah, he was down there, and then he raises up when she starts screaming. Because Christy's like, what the fuck? Because
she gets out of bed.
She starts screaming, and then he raises up out of the covers, and it looks like he's stabbing her. But then he looks at Christy, and he's got blood all over his mouth. So
Right.
I'm assuming he was eating her out, and then he just started biting her.
Ugh.
Which, And
So-
by the way, if you ever get the chance, read the book, I suppose. I feel like I want to read the book now.
Yeah.
But I read some excerpts about some killings, like the murders in the book.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, they are fucking brutal. Like, just look those up. Whoa.
So Chrissy runs off and she's getting lost in this apartment because she's freaking out. She winds up in a closet. There's dead girls in there. And Patrick starts up a chainsaw. So she runs to the bathroom. And there's a dead girl on the bathroom floor. And she's screaming this whole time. And he comes in there and she punches him in the face. And he was like, not the face.
Yeah.
And she runs out in the hallway of this apartment building. And she's like banging on doors
Yeah.
and screaming.
Which, okay, I have a specific read about this movie. And I'm sure a lot of people disagree with me. I'll probably hear about it. I don't think this is in his head, but I don't think these people want to know this. I think it's one of those things where they're kind of ignoring something that's probably actually awful that's happening, but it's like, well,
Not my problem.
that's not my problem.
Right.
That guy's rich or
Mhm.
something's going on.
Right.
It's not my problem.
Not my problem.
I don't want to be involved.
Right.
Because this is prime real estate where they're at.
Mm-hmm.
Paul Allen's apartment building and stuff like that. It's prime fucking real estate, and you don't want to drive those property prices down.
Right.
So that's just part of my theory of why nobody's answering their door or hearing some fucking chainsaw flying down the hallway.
Right.
Because he's chasing her with this fucking chainsaw, like butt ass naked. I think he might be in some tennis shoes. Is he in tennis shoes or socks?
I don't think he was. I don't know. Maybe socks.
Yeah. Well, anyway, he's like butt fucking naked, just chasing her with this chainsaw.
She's running down this staircase.
Yeah, it's a spiral staircase.
yeah.
Which, again, the cinematography in this movie is beautiful. The
yeah.
shots are just gorgeous.
But he's like hanging this chainsaw over, swinging it back and forth because he wants to drop it.
Yeah.
But she's got to get to the bottom first.
He's waiting for the right moment.
Yeah. And she gets to the bottom and he drops it on her and she dies.
Yeah.
Then it just all of a sudden cuts.
Yeah, to him drawing
A
her
dead
with
girl.
the chainsaw on her
Yeah.
side, like on the table where they're at.
Yeah. And he's at dinner with Evelyn. And she's just babbling on and on and on about the wedding.
Yeah, and he's really starting to lose it because he's fidgety and he's not acting like himself. And he's like, he says, this is not gonna.
Well, he looks at her and he says, I need to engage in homicidal behavior on
Yeah.
a mass scale. And there's no other way to fulfill my needs.
Yeah.
And he looks at her and he's like, it's over.
Yeah, and she's like, oh, what do you mean? And she's like, goes into this thing about how it wouldn't work, how them splitting up would not work because her friends are his friends and his
yeah.
friends are her friends. And he's like, you can have them.
You can have them. He says he's inhuman and that she's not terribly important to him.
Yeah, it's almost like he finally tells the truth. Again, that mask is slipping off.
Right?
Yeah.
And she's like making a scene. And she's like, is there anything I can do? And he was like, you can stop making a scene.
Yeah. Well, because, and he knows that he's spiraling out of fucking control.
Yes.
And he's like, I don't need this person anymore because I only had her for the looks. Like,
right.
That's what you do. You get engaged and you get married when you're young and stuff like that.
Right. So he stands up and he's like, I'm leaving. And she's like, where are you going?
I have to return some videotapes.
So he goes to an ATM and he sees a cat. And then the ATM.
He picks up this cat and starts petting it, and then the ATM agent flashes, "Feed me a stray cat." It's like, what? So
Then he tries
puts the
to
cat-
shove the cat.
He puts
into
the
the
cat up
ATM.
onto the fucking ATM and pulls a gun on it. Like, I guess he's gonna shoot it.
But it looked like he was trying to shove it into the money thing.
feeder thing.
It's weird. So this woman comes up to him and she's like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
Yeah, and he fucking just
Shoots
blasts her. And then, so then we start this weird police chase.
He runs off because the police pull up.
Another theory here. Let's step into Lee's theories about the movie. But the way I read this is I don't know if all of this is happening.
Right.
Like I said, I don't think this, like some people will say, this entire movie is all in his head. I'm not saying that. I think certain little bits are,
Mhm.
like the menus.
Being exaggerated.
Yeah, those
and
were
stuff.
weird. But maybe not. I don't know. But I think the cops chasing him is maybe in his mind a little bit.
Yeah.
Because he kills this lady. And maybe he did actually shoot this lady. Because obviously the ATM machine did not tell him to feed it a cat.
Right.
So that's a delusion. He's starting to have delusions at this point in his serial killer career, which is bad.
Right.
And so he may kill the old lady, but I don't think the cops immediately pulled up
No.
and started looking for him.
I think that he's ready to get caught.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's in his mind. He knows that's what needs to happen now. He
Right.
needs to confess because he runs. He's being chased by the cops. He's setting off alarms to try to get away from them.
Mm-hmm.
And in his mind, he's being chased by the cops. So he turns down this alleyway and the police come and somewhat corner him, I suppose. But anyway, they hop out of the cars and pull their guns on him and stuff like that.
And he shoots them. And then the cars blow up.
Yeah, and even he is like looking at his gun like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Because he blew up a police car with like 3 shots. Which
And there was like 5 police officers and none of them hit him.
right, and that's
they're
why I
all
said
shooting
I
at him.
think parts
Oh, yeah.
are in his mind. I don't
Oh,
think
yeah.
all this is happening.
So in the franticness of all of this, he goes into a building, an apartment building that he thought was his. And the front desk guy is like, "Don't forget to sign in."
Yeah, the front desk guy mistakes him for somebody.
Yeah.
Because he calls him some weird name and is
Mr.
like,
Smith.
You burning the midnight oil again?
Yeah.
And he just shoots the dude in the head.
But then he goes to his apartment building
Yeah.
and you think he's gonna shoot that front desk guy.
Yeah, he just
But-
pulls out a pin to sign it.
Right. Oh, that was not his apartment building. Sorry. It was his work building.
Yeah, he's at his office.
Yeah. Because he signs in and goes in the elevator, goes to his office and calls his lawyer.
Yeah, because he is out of it. He's
Yeah.
losing it, and he's frantic and sweating.
Mhm.
And this is where he begins to confess.
He's like, "I've killed like 10 homeless people, some odd prostitutes."
Yeah. He rattles off
Paul
his
Allen.
crimes. He's like, I had to kill a lot of people.
I had to. I videotaped most of them.
I ate some of their brains.
And I ate some of the brains.
I tried to cook a little. It's like, oh, shit.
So then it cuts to him in a shower.
Yeah.
And in the shower.
Yeah, because I think the confession kind of helped a little bit. He feels a little relieved.
Yes. He's got to wash the sin off of him.
Yeah,
No, just kidding. He's got
So
He's
apparently
cute.
the shower scenes were very popular on set because story is that most of the women on set gathered around to watch Christian Bale wash himself.
I would watch it.
Well,
All
I'd watch
day.
it too. I mean, Christian Bale. But
Oh, he walks into his closet where all of his suits are. And I wrote, has almost as many suits as Barney Stinson.
suit up
Yes.
to murder people.
Yes.
So then he gets dressed and everything, obviously.
Mhm.
And then it cuts to him walking to Paul Allen's place. And he's got a big bag, it looks like.
Mhm.
And he's got one of those,
Dust masks.
dusk masks. He's obviously going to clean the place up.
Right.
Try to hide some of the evidence. Maybe. But so when he gets there, though, the landlady, I'm assuming, or the realtor is showing the place to a couple, and the whole place has been whitewashed.
Yes.
It has
Painted.
been painted down, scrubbed top to bottom, and he's looking around like, what the fuck? And he goes to the back closet where the dead bodies were earlier and swings it open. There's nothing there.
Just
It's been
paint
clean.
cans.
And the realtor lady comes up to him and says, "Are you my 2 o'clock?" And he's like, "No."
No.
She's like, "Did you see the ad in the Times?"
Oh, because he says, is this Paul Allen's place?
Yeah. And she's like, "Did you see the ad in the Times?" And he's like, "Yeah, the ad in the Times." She was like, "There was no ad in the Times."
He's like, then no.
Yeah. And again, my reading on this is kind of the same as before. This is prime real estate, and he killed people in Paul Allen's apartment and stuff like that. That
Right.
was not in his head. That wasn't imaginary. But I think because this apartment is worth so much money to real estate, that the realtors and stuff are going to cover it up.
Right.
Because the way she acts is like she knows what has gone on. She knows what the apartment, what happened in there. But she tells him to get the fuck out, basically.
Yeah. She's like, I don't want any
she
trouble.
Doesn't want it. Yeah, she doesn't want that there. So I think they covered it up just to get rid of it.
Right. Because
So
they
not
want to sell
only-
it.
Yeah, because the money.
Right.
So not only has he accidentally created himself an alibi, but also because of the time and the social standing, his fucking kill apartment he had has been cleaned for him
Right.
and wiped of all evidence.
So he's a little freaked out,
Right.
and he goes to a payphone, and he calls Gene.
Yeah, he's still pretty unhinged.
Yeah. He calls Gene, and he's talking gibberish.
I'm confused. I don't have much for this scene,
Right.
but he's just losing it. And I think Gene was the first person he decided to call. I
Right.
mean, after he confessed to his lawyer, obviously.
Right.
Which that's the whole lawyer confidentiality thing. So
Mm-hmm.
technically, which does that even work if you've murdered people?
Yes.
It does.
Mm-hmm.
So I could call a lawyer and been like, I killed 5 people. Can you help me out?
Mm-hmm.
Oh God, that's terrible. We live in a terrible world. Anyway.
Yeah. But
Which brings me to a point. Hey, don't take legal advice from a podcast.
don't.
This is entertainment purposes
We are
only.
not educated.
No, don't go
lawyer
murdering people
anything.
and then calling lawyers. Anyway.
Anyway.
So I think just Gene is just someone to call. I don't know. Because
And-
even he is like, because she's like, what's wrong? She's concerned,
Mm-hmm.
which is something he didn't expect.
Right.
Because he's like, why are you sounding so sad?
And he says, just say no.
Yeah.
And I'm like, to what?
I think to him.
Maybe.
Because I think she's concerned and she's showing
Right.
emotion towards him, and he is feeling weird about that.
Right.
Because if you think about it, even Evelyn didn't really show much emotion.
Right. That cry she did was so fake.
Oh, I know.
So this prompts Gene to start looking through his desk,
Right, she gets Snoopy in his office.
and she finds a date book. But this is where it cuts to Patrick having drinks with the guys.
Yeah, this is another whiskey bar thing?
I think so.
Not sure.
But they're talking about dinner
Right.
and where they're going to go. And he was like, I'm not going anywhere unless we have a reservation.
Yeah, he's still at this point sweating, freaking out a little bit.
Mhm.
And
I think he wants somewhere with a reservation so he has an alibi.
Yeah, probably. I think that's why he's so obsessed with reservations. I wonder if that's what that is.
Maybe.
I love this movie.
Mhm.
Anyway, but that's when he spots his lawyer.
Yes.
And he gets up to go talk to him.
And his lawyer doesn't even know who he is.
Yeah, he mistakes him for somebody else.
And he was like, no, I'm Patrick Bateman. And he was like, I called you. I left those voicemails for you. Or that voicemail message on your machine. I was like, what am I saying? And he was like, I killed Paul Allen. And his lawyer says, that's not possible. I had dinner with Paul Allen in London.
Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun.
And he's like, he's basically just saying, no, Paul Allen was there and stuff. I
Right.
saw him and stuff like that. And it dawns on Bateman that everything's fine.
Yeah, he's getting
no
away
one
with
suspects him.
it. Right.
It's fine. And that in itself calms him down because that's when he sits back down at the table and he's like, oh, I'm just rocking and rolling and stuff.
Right.
He's
And it
just happy.
cuts to Jean looking at the date book, and she's seeing his drawings of murder.
Right. And this is one of those this is kind of like a visual representation of his escalation, because it starts out one picture of some murder and then a little bit like more pictures, and she just keeps flipping, and it's just more and more gruesome images that he's doodled in his fucking day planner.
Right.
And she kind of gets
suspicious.
Yeah, she gets what he is. I think that's my reading on it. I think she knows.
Right. Then it cuts back to them, and Reagan's on the TV, and the guys are talking about Reagan and how he's lying all the time and stuff.
Yeah, he said he pretends he's an old codger, but inside and stuff like that. And that's when we get the ending narration. There are no more barriers to cross. All I have in common with the uncontrollable and the insane, the vicious and the evil, all the mayhem I have caused and my utter indifference toward it, I have now surpassed. My pain is constant and sharp, and I do not hope for a better world for anyone. In fact, I want my pain inflicted on others. I want no one to escape. But even after admitting this, there is no catharsis. My punishment continues to elude me, and I gain no deeper knowledge of myself. No new knowledge can be extracted from my telling. This confession has meant nothing. I don't know, I just
I know.
really love that end, because like basically he hasn't learned a damn thing.
Right.
He still knows what he is. He still kind of doesn't know what he's becoming, and
nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
So he can do whatever he wants.
It's almost like he's trapped.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you could take away that he's upset about this, or maybe you can take away that he has no emotion anyway, so he feels nothing.
Right.
He still just feels nothing, and he continues. It's just a really eerie ending. And the problem is, I think, it is ambiguous, the way it ends and stuff. And if you're kind of watching this, like a first run through, you might kind of miss a few things. And
a lot of things.
Yeah, you might miss a few things and think it's all in his mind at the end, which some people do. Some people think he imagined the whole thing, or at least parts, like big parts of it. But like I said, I don't think so. I mean, Bateman's an unreliable narrator, but I think he's telling us the truth in an embellished way.
Because the things that I think he's lying about are like what you said, the menus, the cop cars blowing up. Right. Everybody's going to say something to make themselves sound way cooler.
Oh, yeah. He's making himself sound smooth.
Right.
When in reality, it probably wasn't that smooth.
Right.
Like, the chainsaw scene may not have actually happened that way.
Right.
He killed her, but might not have been in that way. But we don't know. He's unreliable. That's the whole point of an unreliable narrator. But
it has that level of mystery that was really great.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And, man, the acting in this movie is superb. I think...
Yes.
I've always said that this movie probably would not be as good if it wasn't Christian Bale as Patrick Bateman. Because, for a while beforehand, when they were talking about making this movie, they had talked about Leonardo DiCaprio, and they had also talked, there was Ewan McGregor was thrown around and stuff like, and when you think about that, you're like, no, it's always Christian Bale. And I think that's another reason why I'm really, really not wanting this remake to get up and going, because even Bret Easton Ellis, he's not behind it. He said it's going on without his involvement, which this movie had his involvement.
Right.
That's why most of the dialogue is pulled right from the book, because again, I haven't read the book, but apparently it's hard to make this into a movie, and apparently this did fine. But with the ending, yeah, it's it's vague and stuff, right. So it could kind of make you think that way. And even the director has said she wishes she hadn't made it so ambiguous there at the end, because it wasn't her intentions for you to leave thinking that all of it was imagined.
It's so deep on so many levels.
I know, this movie's a smart one. This is probably the first smart movie we've done. And I guess you could say it doesn't qualify as a horror movie, but I think it does. It's a slasher.
Right.
Just we're with the slasher and we like him.
Right.
It's very odd. But yeah, it's a fantastic movie. This is one of those movies I keep putting on. I never get tired of it. Mm-hmm. And maybe that says something about my psyche, but it's great.
I like it too. We put it on before bed one night.
Yeah. We've smoked weed to this movie.
Oh, hell yeah.
But anyway, that is 2000s. Oh, God. Remember nu metal? Oh, fuck. Anyway, that was 2000s American Psycho. Directed by Mary Herron and starring Christian Bale. Christian motherfucking Bale. Anyway, so
I gotta return some videotapes.
I think
Weed Eater.
is he weed eating?
Dark.
It is fucking 9 o'clock. It is okay. This is Tulsa time. It's 9 p.m. It is pitch black outside, and this motherfucker's weed eating. He must be weed eating with a goddamn flashlight attached to the head. Anyway, so that was this week, and I'm running out of things to talk about. But until next time, stay spooky.
Stay horrific.
Oh, bye-bye.
Bye.
I have to return some videotapes. Hey everybody, thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed the show, and be sure to visit us on the web at nightofthehorrorfile.com. That's www.nightofthehorrorfile, all one word, .com. And find us over on Twitter at N Horrorfile. And you can also message us on our Facebook page. Go on there, like, share some things, and let us know how you enjoy the show. I'm Lee Evans, and on behalf of Brittany Evans, I'm going to say stay spooky. See you next week.